Hey guys, what's going on? DJ Flat Earth, aka No Glow, back with episode 3, NASA Lies. And if you weren't aware before, be prepared for yet another video of fishiness. Again, these videos are why I'm convinced the Earth is flat. If you disagree, that's alright. That's why the series is called Why I'm Convinced and not Why We All Are Convinced. For more information on this topic, click and sub to one of the channels below. Enjoy.
I don't recall during the period of time that we were photographing the solar curl what stars we could see. I don't remember seeing any.
Swear to God, you walked on the moon.
Mr. Several, knowing you, that's probably a fake Bible.
Well, you're talking to the wrong guy. Why don't you talk to the administrator at NASA? We're passengers. We're guys going on a flight.
I don't hit people, but you're going to be on the deck unless you get and get the hell out of the class.
Take your stuff and get the fuck out. Why don't you quote me and say it's bullshit?
When the shadows in her uncle, I don't give a damn about all that shit.
You're the one who said you walked on the moon when you didn't. Calling the kettle black if I ever thought of saying I misrepresented myself.
Away from me.
You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
Just in time. Tang, the drink the astronauts took to the moon.
Astronauts to the moon.
In a NASA establishment which believes it's absolutely right, forgetting that in 2007, when we did the report from Judge Kriegler, we found that both PNU and ODM at the time had participated in electoral fraud.
Yes.
Let's be honest. So let's not imagine that suddenly ODM, rebranded NASA today, is the angel and Jubilee is the devil.
Next generation spacecraft will enable America to explore beyond low Earth orbit.
We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go.
The kinds of technologies that we're testing out on Space Station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit.
Early in the next decade, a set of crewed flights will test and prove the systems required for exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
Man on Moon. When Neil Armstrong's one small step made one giant leap for mankind on the 20th of July, 1969, lots of discussions and theories arose. Scientists, philosophers, and critics all around the world have talked about the moon landings for more than 5 decades. There were many who believed that Neil was wearing a safety boot called an overboot. But still, have you ever tried to step foot on a dry, sandy beach? Were you able to see your footprint so distinctly? No, right? NASA claims that the moon has no atmosphere, and has been proved by many different theories. And what adds to this is that the soil, or the particles that the moon is made up of, are similar to dry sand. NASA also claims to have not found water on the moon in the Apollo 11 mission. The image that you are seeing is uploaded by NASA recently to prove the moon landings, and the spacesuit that Neil Armstrong wore on that day is kept safely in the museum. The problem? If you can see the foot of the suit in the print on the moon's land, they don't match an inch. This makes us come to the conclusion that NASA staged the suit, the Apollo 11, and even Neil's historical footprint. The spacesuit of Neil is called the A7LB spacesuit. The surface of the moon is bone dry, as declared by NASA itself. On Earth, the Great Sahara is one of the driest places. But even over there, if you step on a lump of dry soil, you will see that the footprint is not at all similar to the footprint seen in the picture taken by Neil Armstrong. The question that subsequently arises is, even though the moon and Sahara do not have water, then why do the footprints in both places not match? Where does this lead us to? 4. Deep fried by the radiation of Van Allen's belt. The issue of the Van Allen belt and its radioactivity was a particularly serious concern while planning the first Apollo mission. Scientists are still pondering over the phenomenon or electrons nearing the speed of light in this region, or even the electron droplet phenomenon, which makes it almost impossible for humans to pass through it. So why is it that astrophysicists in that time got through this ominous obstacle to send their astronauts to the moon? But what raises the most eyebrows is the fact that NASA, in the early 1960s, said that its rocket will burst through the Van Allen belt without providing adequate protection to the astronauts from the radiation. They hope that the instrumentation around the astronauts in the rocket will keep them safe, and that they are ready to take this risk. On the 21st of July, 2015, Kelly Smith, who works at NASA under navigation and guidance for Orion, admitted that humans cannot get past the Van Orion's belt, and naturally occurring belts of radiation that surround the Earth was a problem that NASA dealt with very carefully, according to them, both on the journeys to the moon and while getting back into the Earth's atmosphere. According to many different theories, and still more experiments conducted by a large number of scientists, many of who came to the conclusion that if any human being ever tries to cross the belt, the radiation will instantly, or very soon after the first touch of it, would kill the living organism. Hiroshima, Chernobyl, and many other are real-life examples. So, what superpowers did NASA give Neil and Buzz, the subsequent astronauts who successfully burst through the belts with relative ease? Unlike the procedure of X-ray in medicine that we go through to check if our bones or ligaments are perfectly fine or not, this is a belt of charged particles, which not only affects us in the same manner, but at a larger scale too. It also impairs any instruments that require electricity to function. This, according to NASA, comes under a second type of radiation. These particles are formed by the heat of the sun, flow out as a solar wind. According to CERN, ISRO, and IARC, this wave is equally harmful and can kill any organism within seconds of its touch. And henceforth, how can an organization as big as NASA risk its astronauts' lives in such a crucial mission? 3. Cipher stars in the hours of darkness. When you go out in the day, you can see the sky with a bright sun and the blue sky. At night, you can see the imperfect but still beautiful moon and all the stars of the Milky Way galaxy. Now think about this. You are on the moon, and the sky that you see all above you is pitch black. What do you expect to see? You might say stars, yet there are no stars visible in any of the pictures taken by astronauts in any of the Apollo missions. This is a major point that has created doubt over the credibility of the Apollo missions. Yes, there have been explanations saying that there were no stars visible because it was daytime on the moon, and it might be enough to convince a layman. Just like on Earth, where you cannot see any stars in the day because of the sun, you cannot see stars in the moon in daytime because of the sun's brightness. While on the Earth this is a convincing fact, it is not so for the moon. The moon does not have any atmosphere, so there cannot be any scattering of the sun's light that will hamper the visibility of the stars. The next obvious thing that comes to mind is, why are there no stars visible in the sky far away from the sun? People also say these pictures were taken from the fast exposure time and short aperture cameras, because of which faint objects weren't visible. But even the dog star of Sirius, A, the brightest and closest star to us, is not visible in any of these pictures. This raises a lot of questions. It is not just the critics or the common people that have raised the question. Many officers and high position holders in the American government itself have raised similar questions, which makes the situation graver. It is time NASA churned back the pages in its history books and told everyone what really happened. 2. No exhaust flame under the lunar module. You might have seen various science fiction movies in which they show rockets flying in space and their voluminous tails of flame trying to play catch-up behind them. Or you might have seen live pictures on television where the rocket has large exhaust flames emanating from it to provide it with the thrust. But as you can see in the picture, the Apollo rocket that landed on the moon and the module from which it is lifting off from the surface does not seem to have any flames emanating from it. Well, that's weird. Scientists and astrophysicists have been fumbling on this curious observation for decades now. Why are there no flames under the module, but to no avail? Could it be that NASA, the USA, to show its technical superiority over Russia, plotted the entire episode on a set? Is it possible that to safeguard NASA's current reputation and command over all the space agencies of the world, the Pentagon is not speaking on the controversy? Over the years, there have been many attempts to explain the reason behind the non-existence of any flame below the lunar module, the most prevalent of them being the use of a propellant that has transparent flames. It was claimed that the fuel that was used to power the Apollo mission modules contained a mixture of nitrogen tetroxide and aerosine 50. They said that this mixture as a propellant for the module was apt because of its thrust. It has been observed that this mixture does indeed have transparent exhaustive flames. But looking in closely, is there anything lying around close to the place where the module took off from? You will see that the flag of the U.S. is just a few yards away in the video that surfaced regarding the liftoff. It is clearly visible that the flag is caught in the gust created by the thrusters, meaning that it was not far away from the liftoff site, even though it was a transparent flame, but it was a flame nonetheless. So how did the flag withstand the liftoff without sustaining any harm due to the extensive heat of the transparent flame? 1. The infamous waving national flag. It is widely thought that in order to assert their command and gain a lead in their space race over Russia, America hoaxed the moon landings. It has been more than 5 decades since man took the first step on the only natural satellite of the only life-sustaining planet in the Milky Way galaxy. And we haven't been there again since then.
Of why the U.S. government would have faked the moon landing. Cold War is number one. We were at it with the Russians. JFK came out in 1961 and said, you know what, by the end of the decade, we're going to go to the moon. And then, therefore, we had to do it. That's JFK. That's our guy. And we supposedly beat them. We didn't. There were concerns that Russia was going to build a missile base on the moon. Sounds crazy, but it's not. And it's what people believe. As that decade progressed, we are not making the strides that we see Russia making. They put Yuri Gagarin out into space before we did, and that was scary. There's a lot of shit going on here. We have the Van Allen belts.
The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
Seen anything that indicates the telemetry data is even in existence, and as I said, even if we had it, we don't have the machines to play it back.
But your own research has shown the telemetry data is missing.
That's right.
Could this be true? Mankind's first interplanetary exploration and the original science data is missing? If it's anywhere, it should be here at NASA's Goddard Space Center in Maryland, home to the National Space Science Data Archives.
This film you're making now, what is it?
This is a film trying to prove that Apollo 11 happened.
Does it have a name? I mean, do you have a name for it yet, or
You're calling it Did We Go?
Did we go? Okay.
Doesn't have it either. The Smithsonian doesn't have it. Johnson doesn't have it.
Right. We've been unable to track it down. I mean, we don't know where this telemetry data ended up, and we don't know what path it may have taken. So, unfortunately, I'm afraid I can't really give you much of a clue as to where this data ended up and whether it
For those
still
with
exists
eyes
or not.
to see, it is pretty obvious what's going on here. And if you're someone who backs NASA no matter what, well then, nothing will convince you. Remember, Russian astronauts found sea plankton, yes, you heard me correctly, sea plankton on the ISS Windows. Yeah, Russian officials claim that these creatures were blown there by air currents.
Have you ever looked away from Earth into the black void?
Yeah, because you can see, because you can see the stars.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, and pretty much all the time you can see the stars.
We were never able to see stars from the lunar surface or on the daylight side of the moon. The sky is deep black when viewed from the moon, as it is when viewed from cislunar space, the space between the Earth and the moon.
And we cannot see stars.
It's not a black void. I mean, it's black, but there's all kinds of little polka dots.
There's all the stars there. The cool thing is about it, you can see it during the day.
And when you're in space and you're looking into deep space and you're on the sun side of the orbit, the sunlight washes out all the starlight, so you can't see any stars, just like here on Earth.
There's all the stars there. The cool thing is about it, you can see it during the day.
Yeah, you can, and there's more than stars. You can see planets. You can see moons.
You see the gas Magellan clouds of the Milky Way galaxy.
The channel, if you guys want to go check it out yourself, is called Grant Space Go Forth, and that's GO, the number 4, TH. And the videos are called Why I'm Convinced the Earth is Flat, Season 1, Episode 1, and Season 1, Episode 2.